There we go. Hi.
Hey
Sorry for the
there.
technical difficulties. This is, folks. This is Merri Maywether. And as I told you guys when I was doing my warm up here, we actually haven't met before, but we're going to be together in Vegas. I'm sure we'll see each other at a convention. We're not going to Vegas together. We're going with a bunch of people. Just to be clear, it's called Rave, and it's on November 10th. Part of a 20 books convention that goes all week. November 10th, all day from like 10 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's 300 indie authors from all different genres, and you guys can come out and you can check it out. My name again is Bryan Thomas Schmidt. I'm the author of Shortcut, which, as I said, just came out on audiobook yesterday, but has been out in print for a bit, and it's on sale on Kindle for 99 cents. So if you go to my link on my profile and you click that link, the first tab, you can get a really good read for that. What I think is a good read, at least, and I hope you think so too. And our guest tonight, Merri, is a romance author and a librarian. So, she's
Hmm.
from Montana, right? You're from Montana, isn't that correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah, she's had a lot of success with indies. Everybody at 20 Books told me about her. I hadn't met her last year, but they all told me she was really great, and so I'm really pleased she's able to be my guest tonight. So, thanks for being with me.
Thank you, but there's a problem. I don't see your face. I just see a little coffee cup that says that the live is paused.
Sure. That's weird. Hold on. Turn your camera off and come back. That happened to me last night. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm actually seeing both of us. Does ever
Oh, okay.
does anybody else see me? Carlos, the audience can see me.
What?
Can you see me
Don't
now?
do me like that, TikTok. No.
All right, hold on. Let me turn off my background. It may have something to do with the background. Let me just turn that off and see if that doesn't help. Does that help?
No.
All right.
It's like, but you know, it's like I'm on. Oh, there you are. Okay,
There I
there you
am.
are.
Okay, good. I will not fiddle with anything else. I don't know what happened. Okay, there. Hi.
Hey there. I
Mary,
can't believe
Mary,
you didn't.
Mary got real quickly tired of staring at my coffee because I didn't offer any. I'm sorry, I didn't offer you any coffee.
That's all right.
Anyway, folks, Merri Maywether, like I said. So
Mhm.
tell me about yourself. You write mostly romance. What's your genre? Your subgenres that you work?
Okay, I write sweet romance, small town, um, um, close knit friends or family type of a thing, but then
Okay.
close knit families also. Um, and then it because of the small town, I do like second chance
Hmm.
romance or yeah, a lot of second chance romance or brother's best friend. Basically, people that have known each other all their lives, and then something happens, and they're like, "Oh, we're supposed to be together." And Carlos
Bingo.
Castillo,
I'm a
Carlos
big
Second Chance Castillo.
I'm a big fan of second chances. I'm living one in my life right now. So I actually have written a couple romance novels about second chances. But I don't know if they fit the specific subgenre you just described because they're not people that knew each other all their life. They meet and they get a second chance at love. So it may be a different thing. But anyway, it's second chances is a common theme. Common theme.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm a real believer in it. So tell me about your how did you become a writer? What happened there? Have you been doing it your whole
Um,
life, or I mean, where did that come from?
NaNoWriMo.
Really interesting.
Yes, I
Interesting.
think it was 2014, and I cried for November 1st to like November 28th. Finished the book on November 28th, and I went to sleep. And then November 29th, I had the second book, like beginning to end in my brain.
Carlos, I'm getting heckled by my audience down here. Where can I buy? Far better than your books. Where can I buy? You can buy her stuff on Amazon. Frankly, you can see her name right here. Go get her name on Amazon and go buy her books. Absolutely, go buy her books because I'm sure they're good. Everybody raves about them to me that I've talked to.
Hey,
So yeah, go buy her books.
hey.
I'm fine with that. I'm doing this show to support other people. If you want to be troll me, Carlos, I'll find you.
See, but you know what? I'll read your books because I librarian. I read all the genres.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, how much of that had to do with being a librarian? You said NaNoWriMo. For those who don't know, I might want to say that in case we have people who don't know what NaNoWriMo, it's National Novel Writing Month. It takes place in
Hmm.
November every year. And basically, there's a challenge for people to write, what's the word count? 50,000 words or something like that?
Hmm.
So
Yep,
everybody tries to,
50,000.
set a goal and write 50,000 words. You You can write a short novel in that period of time. It's perfect for genres like romance, where the novels typically are shorter. The stuff that I do with thrillers is usually a little bit longer. Usually they're about twice that length, actually. But you can make really
Hmm.
good progress in that period of
Hmm.
time. And so a lot of people have become authors and fulfilled their dream just by having, they have regular meetups on Facebook and live, and I'm sure on TikTok too,
Hmm.
and various places where you could go and get encouraged and do writing sessions together and just have that spirit of camaraderie, which takes away some of the isolation and also gives you some of the motivation. So anyway, that's what it was. So tell me, obviously you've been a librarian for how long? Your whole life?
Mm-mm. Actually, yes and no, because like I have been in and out of the libraries. Like when I was in college, I worked in the library, and then I became a reading teacher. And then we moved to Montana, and for a while I wasn't working.
Mm.
And and that's when I did NaNoWriMo, and I substitute taught, and they were like, "Hey, we need a librarian."
Ha!
I did not know that entailed classwork, but I did the classwork, and so now I'm the K-12 librarian.
Well, oh, great. K through 12. Okay, good, good, good.
Hmm.
That's great. And it's a small town in Montana. I mean, you don't have to tell me where,
Yes.
but I'm just curious. It's a small town.
No,
Yeah.
I can. It's yeah. The town has maybe 400 people.
Oh yeah, that is a small town. So that's. I was wondering. I said when you said K through 12, I was like, well, they must have a small school to combine all
Hmm.
those grades. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's rural. So she writes about what she knows in some ways,
Yeah,
and is writing that small town setting. I'm in a small town called Ottawa, Kansas, which is not near as small as her. Sorry, I got something in my eye here. I
that's
have
all
about
good.
16,000 fellow citizens in my town, so that's a lot bigger than 400. But
Hmm.
um, do you feel like you know everybody? I'll bet you feel like you know everybody.
I do know
You do
everybody.
know everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. You're the librarian. If I mean you're going to know most people just through that
Hmm.
alone, let alone through grocery shopping and school association and everything else.
Hmm.
So you did NaNoWriMo and you wrote a novel and decided you wanted to be a writer and then you became a librarian. That's interesting. That's
Yes.
interesting. So how many books was it that you were into the whole writing thing before you actually sold anything or self-published, or what is your journey to publication?
Um, the beauty of Amazon, like I actually sold my first book. My first book has been through many iterations, but I don't know if Amazon has this or if I was just lucky. I started as soon as I put my first book up, it started selling.
Mm.
And
And what
and
is that?
then
Tell us the title of that so we'll get that out there.
now it is 222 Redemption Lane. At the beginning it was Let the Games Begin.
Oh, okay, okay. So you had a title
Um
change too.
hmm So I did a whole rebrand
Oh, okay,
type of
gotcha,
a thing.
gotcha. Okay, so then now you have at least a dozen books out, maybe more. I didn't count, but you've got quite a few, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you
I
start?
I
You started with romance, I assume.
hmm
Okay.
Yes, or women's fiction. Actually, it's romantic women's fiction because um I have several characters grow.
Okay.
Because with romance, they're focused mostly on the woman's growth, and then
Right.
maybe the male lead's growth. But I'll have family members grow through the conflict that they're seeing through the characters, or
Yeah.
the family members will contribute to the conflict, and then they have to grow.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, so women's fiction and romance are very close together. People tend to
Hmm.
categorize as far as knowing who's who. It really depends. Nicholas Sparks is a famous women's fiction writer, for example. His
Hmm.
stories, even though they're romantic, always end in tragedy, and they're really about the growth cycle of two people and all of that. Whereas a lot of the romance books, so what she's talking about is something that crosses over into that territory. But the romance is a little more focused on really focused on the romantic part, and that
Yes.
doesn't mean it has all the dirty parts. There are some that do, some worse, some more than others, worse than others for some of you. I could read anything, but
Hmm.
literally some are spicy and some are
Hmm.
sweet and don't have
Hmm.
that. You tend to write the sweet, right, mostly, and so
Yes.
that means it's safe if you read it and your kid discovers it on your bed, basically. But
Actually, I every once in a while I'm like I'm gonna write something steamy because steamy romances are like they're it's more than just the adult relation. And the
Yes.
reason I'm being vague is my students have found me, and and so I'm always trying to be like appropriate talk. But what happened is I did a YouTube video. I read one of my stories and I was like, I'm gonna write steamy. I'm gonna be really good at it. I got how to write steamy books, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when he was fourth grader, came to me in the library and he was like, I saw your story on YouTube and I loved it. And I went, oh, I guess I'm not doing the steamy thing. So I write,
Well, anyway, the point I wanted to make was that romance comes in all different colors. I think some people traditionally,
yes, it
especially
does.
back when I was growing up in the 80s and the 70s, it was all Harlequin and it was all considered smut. Nowadays, you can find some things that proudly call themselves
Hmm.
smut, but there's a whole broad subgenre to
Yeah.
it. Myself, I tend to write contemporary settings in what I do. I wrote a women's fiction. I wrote a romance. That's what I feel comfortable writing. But there's everything from historical, there's science fiction,
Hmm.
there's paranormal, and then there's
Hmm.
all these subgenres in between. There's some that focus on various different kinds of things. There's the harem and reverse harem, where the men have more than one woman and the woman has more than one man, and there's all it's all kinds of stuff. So tell me about you put that book out, and then how often do you put out a book? How long does it take? How long did it take you? Their first book, I assume, took you the longest.
So, yeah, because oh my goodness, NaNoWriMo. They're like, just get the words out. They don't
Yeah.
mention how long it takes to fix those words once you just get them
Yeah.
out. Now,
Right.
and so that one took me a long time to fix, and it took several iterations to fix. After that, I learned my lesson, and so it usually takes me 6 to 8 weeks. But then I'm a driven person,
I
and
was going
so
to say
once
that's
I get
very fast.
started, I won't stop, I won't eat, or I won't sleep, type of a thing. So that's
Do you outline? Are you a heavy outliner? Is that how you can work so fast, or do you actually just pants it?
I am both because I start with a really, really good outline, and by the third point, the characters are like, "Girl, you had no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like to. That's the way I write. I used to be much more of a pantser, but now I use basically the 7 point structure or the 3 act structure. I need to know
Hmm.
the key moments, the inciting incident, the first turning point, the
Hmm.
midpoint, the next turning
Hmm.
point, and kind of what I
Hmm.
think is going to be the conclusion. As well
Hmm.
as for each of the character arcs, I need to know all those points too, in addition to the plot. And once I
Hmm.
have that, it may change as the story evolves, but at least it gives me a target to shoot for. Helps me stay
Yeah.
on target, especially with the simple, like with the more complicated books that I write. I had some very epic books that I wrote for sci-fi originally. Now I'm writing much
Hmm.
smaller casts, and especially my
Hmm.
romance books, where it's really or women's fiction, where it's really focused on a much smaller group of people. I find that really
Hmm.
helps me, and it does help me write faster. But boy, I can't do 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. That's
But
fast.
no, like I said, like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just do 1,000 words, and then I'll go to sleep, go to school, come home, write a couple thousand words, and then
Yeah,
so and then I also have a support group, and so
yeah.
we'll meet on Zoom and we do sprints and fun games and things like that.
Gotcha. Now, and once you finish a novel, what's your process? You obviously, I'm sure you have an editor. Do you have a regular editor that you book, or how does that process go?
Um, well, so for this, I do have an editor. I want to say that, but what happens is like I write the novel and then I put it down. So the novel that I will launch in March is like written, and then
Gotcha.
I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up around December, and then I'll see a lot of the holes, and I'll fix it. And then January, I'll send it to my editor, and she'll still say you got some holes, and
Right.
then I fix it there, and um, and then it goes through the other process. So usually my books usually go with like 7 revisions.
Gotcha. Well, this is an important point, and one of you don't know this, Mary, but I've told this to the audience before. I'm a freelance editor, and I make a good
Hmm.
portion of my income from freelance editing. And I edit novels of all different genres, but I
Hmm.
mostly get science fiction and fantasy because that's been what my past credits have mostly been. Right now, I
Hmm.
personally mystery, thriller, and some romance and women's fiction. I've kind of moved in that
Hmm.
direction. So I always tell people, the hardest part is getting that first draft where you actually finished a book. It's like laying the foundation. Once you have
Hmm.
all the frame and the basic walls up, that's when you start the decoration. That's when you go back and pick the carpet and you do the painting and the decoration and you hang
Hmm.
all the everything on the walls and do all that stuff. And I said that's where the magic happens is when you do the
Yeah,
rewrite. But if you don't have anything finished in the first place, you could rewrite yourself to death trying to fix it, screw it up, and never get to the end. So I always encourage
exactly.
my writers that you got to get to that first draft. So that's
Hmm.
her process. That's a great process. And then the problem is when you get to the end of the first draft, you've been so immersed in it, especially when you work with the intensity that Mary's talking about. You're so into it, you have absolutely no objectivity. You have it all in your head. So if you go back to it and you try to read it, your mind skips over important things because you know it so well, and then as
Hmm.
soon as you start reading, all these memories come back. Oh, I remember I cut that scene. Oh, I did this. I wonder if this, and you miss stuff. So the best thing to do is to put it aside for a few months, work on something
Hmm.
else, something different, something new, do other
Hmm.
things and come back to it, and then you really do have that objectivity back so you can look at it and say, oh crap, what did I do?
Hmm. Or a couple of times I'm like, it's cringy. I'm like, oh, they said what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You find the cheesy dialogue like that sounded so good at the time. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So I want to read your book.
Well, you can.
Is it is it
It's
under your name in romance
oh, my
or is it like
romance.
a secret?
Oh, I
Yeah.
can send you my romance. It's not published yet. I'm in the market to figure it out. So yeah, but yeah, I'll let you read it. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It
TikTok, you
needs a
heard
little.
that. I got
It needs
first
some. I think
reads.
it needs some polish. I sent it out to a couple people, and they said it was really good, but they thought it needed a little polish, and I haven't gotten their notes yet. But I'll have you look at it. You might agree or disagree, but they think it's a mass market more than what their specialty house. So that's what they said. So they recommended me to a bunch of editors, and so hopefully I'm going to get somewhere with these other
Okay.
editors. So, but anyway, I tend to go traditional first, but I'll self-publish it if I don't go if that doesn't work because I'm doing it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll send that to you. So I was going to ask you what's your training with writing? Did you just do it naturally, or did you go to school for it? What was your? I mean, obviously you've been a voracious reader for years because you were reading, teaching kids with reading. But
Hmm.
I mean, what made you think, hey, I can really write a book?
Um, this is funny, but it's not funny. Well, teaching, you know how you have the right your plot triangle.
Yeah.
And so what I and it actually worked. And so what I did is for my first NaNoWriMo book, I did the plot triangle, which is the three act structure, but then I did the plot triangle for every chapter.
Oh,
And then you figure out like when you do that, oh wait, I'm missing something. And then I did the plot triangle and it actually worked. So for anyone that's just starting, if you know the plot triangle, you can write a book. But
yeah.
then I read and I read and I read and I read, and I'm still reading how to do it better
Yeah, and
type
I
of
can't,
books.
you know what? I can't write without reading. I'm not only reading novels, and I'm reading good novels, I'm reading bad novels, I'm reading novels in the genre, outside the genre, but writing books too. Yeah, absolutely. Every time I discover a new writing book, I'm always like, oh, I got to read this. I just
Hmm.
recently picked up the one that everybody talks about. What is it called? Save the Cat.
Terry. Hi, Terry. Save the
Hi,
cat.
Terry. How are you? Our friend Terry Wells Brown is down there. She's an author too. She'll be on here at some point soon too. I'll have Terry up here. But anyway,
Hmm.
uh, I picked up Save the Cat, and it was funny because it's what I learned. It is really three act structure. It's what I learned in the film school. It's just got everybody puts like different spins on it, on how to explain it,
Hmm.
different names on it. It all comes
Hmm.
back to Aristotle, and all the things he wrote back in the day. And
Yeah.
that's because it works. I always tell people, I said, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. You can argue all day which method is better. It's the same thing. These
Yep.
same beats, these same points are how
Hmm.
you write the story. And whatever works for you to understand it is the writing device you should follow because it's a dime a dozen, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you
And
what? Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mary. Finish
a
your thought.
couple of times I've read things and I was like, I would bring the book to school to the kids and I'd be like, this is what I was teaching you. If I'd have written it first. And so now they're in a small town. So now they're a senior and up until they're seniors. Yeah, 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 yeah. Senior year, they'll come to me for essays for scholarships, and I'll be like, and I'll tell them something, and all of a sudden, the yeah, yeah goes, wow, you're brilliant. I should write it in a book, and then maybe they'll think I'm brilliant before they're seniors.
Right?
But
Give them the book first. See? Oh, it's all right here in this book. Wait, Miss Mayweather, is this your book? No, it's another Mary Mayweather. She's an expert.
yeah,
I was named after her. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
yeah.
But no, I mean it's funny how over time, I'm the same way. I'm always telling people the writer's journey is a learning journey, and I'm learning
hmm
from the mistakes. I'm learning from the good and bad. I'm learning from other people's mistakes. That's why I like doing these interviews because hearing different people's processes and the things they went through teaches me stuff.
hmm
Seeing people do certain techniques gives me new tools for my toolbox, and it really is a toolbox.
hmm
When I started out my novel, The Worker Prince, which was my first novel 12 years ago. I wrote that
hmm
thing and it took me 19 drafts because after I finished the first draft, I sent it to people and they're like, "You never mentioned clothes. Is everybody naked in this book?" So I did what I
I do
call my
that.
yeah, I did because I don't care about fashion, so I don't think about
Mhm.
it because it's like I'm a simple guy. I'm jeans and a t-shirt. I don't care, right? So I wrote
Uh-huh.
this book, and I had all these other details I thought through, but I didn't think through that. So I did the sartorial draft. Then the next draft I had to, there's like, oh, you got some passives you got to work, so I had to do the passives draft, and so on as I learned craft. Now those are part of my
Mhm.
first, second, and third draft. As I go, I fix and I
Mhm.
notice things, and things slip by, and you fix them the next time, and all of that. But originally, sometimes when you're learning, you have to just do several drafts just to focus on
Mhm.
specific things because your mind hasn't learned how to juggle how all the pieces. It's not like a puzzle. It really is like a
Mhm.
puzzle, and eventually when you get it, you can ask the right questions to think about everything at once. But even then, it's hard. I mean, in particular,
Mhm.
one of the things I see, and I don't know how it is with you, Mary, you can tell us, but with a lot of authors I work with, theme is the last thing they consider. They have a story
Oh.
and there's some kind of message that they want to give, but they don't even always know how to articulate it. So I always have to tell them, what is your theme? And when they identify, I say, okay, go back and revise and polish so that that theme is carried through. Because you have one scene here and one scene here that kind of point to it, but it can be like it needs to be the overall arch of the whole story. Is theme a big? From your reaction, I take it theme is kind of a big thing for you.
Yeah, because what I do is I start off with what do I want this character to learn either about the world or themselves, which is the theme.
Yeah,
And then that's how I throw the conflicts at them.
yeah.
So then they
Well, I
have to
think
learn that lesson.
what I find is just that it's about people thinking about theme differently. The theme really does
Mhm.
come down to what the character learns. In Shortcut, my most recent novel, it's kind of a found family lesson. He's so used to being this genius that invents
Mhm.
stuff and does stuff that when his wife disappears and he has to figure out where she went and how to save her, get her back, he doesn't he's kind of used to telling everybody what to do, and all these people come around him and help him, and he finally realizes he has a whole family and it wouldn't have been possible without all these people. So he discovers it's okay to let go a little bit and let these other people
Mhm.
come in. So that's the lesson that he learned, and that's where the book takes you. But I didn't know what that was when I first started writing because the book came about in a unique way, and I was writing a story that somebody else had partially developed, and I didn't really know that
Okay.
was going to be part of it. But when I came back, the theme merged, and I went back and I made sure that I acknowledged that more in the character. So it happens sometimes. But the message I was looking for was true love, and I'll do anything for love. That's where I started, and that actually is kind of a second theme of the book. But for me, a sub theme was this whole found family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And someone typed spoiler alert. You didn't spoil anything, did you?
Hey, Oz, I didn't spoil anything. I wouldn't tell you anything that would spoil that book. Trust me when I say you're going to read it and go, I thought I knew what was going to happen. And you're going to be like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. Trust me. Everybody who
What is
reads
the
it says
title
that.
of this book? Because I want to read it now.
Oh,
You
it's
said
called
it and I forgot.
it's called Shortcut, a Jason Max thriller. Again, it is on my profile in my the link I have there is a beacon link. It takes you to a page with a bunch of tabs. First tab, order Shortcut. You can go right there and check it out. You can also click on my name at the top, check out my other books too. And I've got like 36 different things in there at least on Amazon now. So,
Oh, that's the book that you have that's next to Lucy's Scores. I saw that
yeah.
video.
Oh, did you?
Yes. I was like, whoa.
Yes, that's the book. Yes, and
Okay, cool.
it's being developed into a movie by a producer, and it's kind of exciting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, now that the strike's over, they can get something going because everything's been kind of held up. Well, the writer's strike. I don't want to discredit the
Mhm.
actors. The actors deserve to work out their issues as well. But the writers and the production people are going back to work, and so some projects are coming along. That's all I mean.
Well,
Anyway,
I
so
just
tell me.
downloaded the audio and the ebook.
Oh well,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. That's very kind. It's very kind. What is your most
You're
successful
welcome.
book? Just out of curiosity. Now, I mean, I'm curious. Are they all successful? I mean, you've been around for a bit, so
hmm Um, all of them
all of them,
because
fine. Fair enough. Fair enough.
uh,
Uh,
yeah,
you do
and
series, right?
because yeah,
You
and
do
so my
series, right?
series have different audiences. So yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
because like
So
my
is
first
the
go
book?
ahead.
No,
Okay,
go ahead. Finish your thought. It's fine. You're telling me
first
what I was going
series
to
is
ask
like
anyway. Go
Virgin
ahead.
River, and then the second series
Okay.
is um I can't think of a television program that's like my second series, but that one does really well. And then my third series is like a holiday themed small town. So they
Gotcha.
all,
Yeah.
I didn't go for one audience. I did go for one audience, but I went for a different mood. So people can
Gotcha.
shift between the series as their mood
Gotcha.
changes.
So, it's always best to start with book one in any of your series. I take it. Kind of is that the best entry point, or can people start anywhere?
First, yes, Carlos, Just a Friend was written by me, and any entry point. If you
Any
start
entry
at the
point? We're going to take.
beginning, you'll
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
um oh, Carlos sent me a rose. Thank you.
Yes, he's giving you gifts. Carlos is a good buddy of mine. He's very generous. He's very kind. So
Thank you, Carlos, for the roses. And so what I do is I put Easter eggs. So if you go beginning to end,
you'll
you'll
pick up
find the
more of that.
Easter eggs. Yeah. But
Gotcha.
you
They'll
can
make
start
sense. Yeah.
anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to tell people that because people always ask. One of the things that people get too hung up on, and I'm going to start taking, you guys can put some questions down in comments now. I've kind of focused on our conversation, but the last half we'll take questions or we'll keep talking. We can do either way. But I wanted to say one of the things you guys got to remember is just because an author has 15 books doesn't mean that you can't start at book number 13. I started John Connolly's Charlie Parker series, which is one of these series, the best written mystery series. His lyrics, his words are like lyrics. They're like poems. I cannot believe how he uses words. I'm so jealous of his ability. But anyway, I started with like the 10th book in the series because I just picked it up like on one grocery store thing. I was like, I want to read some mystery. So I just picked it up. This
Hmm
looks interesting. I read it, and then I went back and read the whole series and caught up. And it's really there's a lot of series like this with these through lines. There are some the author will always tell you if the series really one depends on the other. But a lot of people every time I go to sell books, people are like, "Oh, I really just want to buy book one because I can't read the others without reading book one." And you know what? That's just not always true. And
hmm
I would encourage you to support authors if you can support authors because if the author's not going to lie to you. The author doesn't want to do anything to alienate you. They want you to keep coming back for more. So if the author tells you it's okay to start there, just believe them because we work hard. I mean, every time I write a book where it's a series book, I'm always looking at ways to seed in information from the previous books to kind of just catch everybody up a little bit so that a new reader, if they do pick up book two, can still follow along. And I'm sure Merri does the same thing. So that's
Yes.
the skill of good writing. So let's see. Do we have any questions yet?
I don't know.
Besides, tell us
I'm looking.
what's just a friend. Tell us about just a friend.
Just a friend. Actually, it's this is a learning lesson, okay? Just a friend was actually so I learned how to write villains and so I wrote a love triangle romance and I you make your villains relatable. Well,
Yeah.
she wound up with the hero and my readers were like, you did it wrong. I was like, no, no, no.
You
I
broke
know.
it. You broke it.
And so I had to write a story for the villain so my readers would be happy. And so it's a novella, but it's the villain's second chance.
Gotcha. That's a good point. That's one of the things I hear about a lot from, thank you for the heart, about from romance authors a lot. And I'm still learning because it's a new, and I've read it a lot for years, but I haven't studied the craft of it till recently. So I'm learning. Romance tends to be, they have a lot of formulas that people follow. That doesn't mean the books are formulaic, people. It
Hmm.
just means that the readers come with a certain preconceived set of expectations to it, and that's why when Merri did, kind of she broke the triangle or did it a little differently, they were like, "Hey, that's not how it's supposed to work. That's not what I came here for," and you have to kind
Hmm.
of deal with it. And it's in particular, I find that all genres have tropes, but romance readers and women's fiction tend to be particularly sensitive to that, in my experience so far. Is that something that you've struggled to figure out, or is that did you learn as you go? Basically, I guess is what you're saying.
What I learned is I don't do villains anymore. Because I, and I even like look at myself and because it's clean romance and I kind of lived that lifestyle. So I
Yeah,
always like gravitate towards the people who are rogues. And
yeah,
obviously I do that in my writing too. So I just took the rogue out. I'm like when they were upset, I understood. But
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you just wanted to try something different, and that's part of being an
mhm,
author too. Trying to do it.
yeah.
Hey, maybe I can do this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I've always been kind of I grew up the goody two shoes kind of guy, kind of the
Hmm.
thing too. So I tend to like stories with happy endings. It's funny that I'm writing these Nicholas Sparks like tragedies with my women's fiction because I like the happy ending. I It's hard for me
Hmm.
to write. I can be cruel to my characters when I'm doing mystery and thriller, but when romance, I always want the happy ending, man. I want to see the,
Hmm.
you know.
And you
I
know
really
what?
like, and even in my mysteries, like I want at least some sense of a happy, satisfying ending, to come
Hmm.
out of it because that's just who I am. Whereas I know a lot of authors these days they're writing very dark and rare, very
Dark
morally
romance
gray,
sells.
and that's just not my thing. But
Hmm.
that's fine.
Hmm.
Everybody, there's a place for everybody.
Yep.
How do you
Yep.
how do you find your readers? Oh wait, do you want to, Shanna? Don't talk to me about that right now. That has nothing to do with this. Sorry. It was a recruiter, one of those agent recruiters that come on here and bother you all the time. Anyway,
Oh,
so
okay.
what I want to ask you was, how did you find your readers? I mean, it sounds like your book started selling pretty quickly, which is great. But
Hmm.
how did you, to keep being successful? The hardest thing for me is identifying who are my readers. Who am I supposed to be catering to? You have any tricks for that? Any advice for that?
Um, um, I this was when 20 books was really, 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 really small. Now it's a large Facebook group.
Right.
But back in the day, and it's a not funny but funny story. But what I did is one of the six-figure authors. Oh, someone just I don't know what that is, but someone just did it. So whoever did it, thank you. Um,
Oh, they're giving you a heart. Giving you a heart. That's what it is.
you. She did a book funnel giveaway, and I actually saved the video. I joined this book funnel giveaway, and it was like, and if you swiped the screen, it was man chest, man chest, man chest, man chest, man chest. My little sweetheart book, man chest, man chest, man chest, man chest.
That's
And
hilarious.
I thought I would get no one. And there's actually a moral to this story. I got like 2,000 readers.
So there were
And I
people who
still
came
have,
looking, they couldn't find what they wanted till they found yours. Yeah.
not even that. I romance readers, like we have this clean versus steamy versus thing. No, they
Yeah.
just want a good story, and if it's
Oh, okay.
steamy, and there are some that do look for steam, but there are some that they don't care. And so
Yeah.
that's
They
how
just
I
want a
got.
good story and whatever they're in the mood for, they'll read. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
And
great.
so I did that, and then Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Um I'm waffling because I live in Montana, and so I don't
Yeah.
want to fall in love with TikTok and then have it snatched away. But I,
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Yeah. I got you. I
and so I'll
got you.
know by the end of this week. And because TikTok counter, like they're in the sports right now with Montana.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's too bad because you have a great setting. You could do all kinds of outdoor videos with all the beautiful scenery behind
Hmm.
you.
Well, I've been doing silly stuff, so if
Well, I
it
do that too. Yeah, 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 yeah. I like to make
well,
people
so
smile, and so whatever I can do to do that is often what I do. I have a lot of fun with
yes.
filters, so
That's what I was telling you before. They're doing like the AI filters. Like I did my guardian angel. I did my window. I didn't do the stairways to heaven because I don't want to know when I'm dying. I was like,
I do funny. I like all when they put funny faces on me. Sometimes they make me look like a woman, or what would I look like if I
mm-hmm,
was older, or different things. I'm always doing that, and I do way more than I post. I actually save some of them as just for me only, and I send them to my
mm-hmm,
kids. So when I'm trying to teach my kids, because I'm getting ready to get married, and I have these two teenagers that are going to be moving in, and they're from Philippines, and they're immigrating. So I've been building the father. Thank you. I've been building the parenting relationship with the kids through humor and just through
mm-hmm,
just talking to them like a normal person. Their mom yells at them. I don't yell at them. I try to have a conversation with them about it and
mm-hmm,
building the relationship because they've never had a father. They were kind of their father's abandoned. So one of the ways I do it is through these videos. So like I wanted to. Their mom said, we're getting ready for the Visa Medical. They need to eat more vegetables. They need to stop eating fast food. So I made them a video where I'm a broccoli saying, look, you need to eat vegetables. When your friends say, here's some French fries, you say, no, I have carrot sticks, delicious. And this whole time I'm a broccoli, right? Saying all this. And so I do a lot of stuff like that, but that wouldn't make sense to the audience. But I send it to my kids, and they have a good laugh. So
that's
anyway,
good
I mean,
though.
there's really,
Oh,
really
that's
some really cool
exciting.
little things. Little skeletons that'll dance across your table while next to you, and you can dance with them, and it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It's pretty amazing. And you can make
Yes.
great book trailers too. I've made some you I don't know, you've seen the trailers I've been doing for Rave,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting better at it as I go. But yeah, you can make really good trailers too, and there's free video and all kinds of stuff, so it's kind of fun. Have those opportunities. Let's see if we had any more questions come in here. You guys can ask questions if you want to. Just put them in the comments. Questions related to writing and the things we're talking about here. Again, we are with Merri Maywether. This is Creator Talk Live, which every Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock U.S. Central Time I will be doing. I'm going to interview everybody from authors to artists to musicians. Anyway, so we're
Okay,
talking
wait,
with
hold on.
Merri.
Carlos wanted to get an autographed copy of Two Chance.
You want an autographed copy? Okay. I'm sure you can message Merri and work that
Yeah,
out.
yeah, because I have books behind me, and so yeah, I can send you one.
There you
Now, I
go.
have a question for you. How did you get started writing?
Um, well, I pretty much wanted to be a creator of some kind my whole life. I like how my mom put it. My mom used to say, "You never played with a toy the same way twice." I was so overwhelmed with creativity. I'm ADHD too, which helps drive the energy. But I was
Hmm.
always getting frustrated because I'd come up with new things my toys couldn't do. It's like, oh no, I want this to do that, and then I'm irritated because it won't do it. I can picture it in my head. So I've always had a lot of creative energy. I started
Hmm.
writing songs when I was in kindergarten on the piano as I took piano lessons and making up little songs and doing little compositions. And eventually started storytelling, and I would write fanfic of my favorite children's books. And then I would write TV scripts for my favorite shows, and then that's kind of how I got started. And then I kept getting awards in school for my writing, which told me I was actually maybe good at it, or at least getting good at it. And so but I started out going to school for playwriting and screenwriting because I really wanted to work in TV. I
Mhm.
had a couple things optioned and a couple things, but I never really got anything to take off. So I went
Mhm.
over and did missionary work in Africa and in Ghana, and then I did some in Mexico and Brazil and various places doing leadership development training in the arts because I was a trained
Mhm.
musician. And a lot of the people over there, unless they're rich or connected, they can't get these kind of trainings. So I went over and I
Mhm.
would take a team of experts over and we would do a workshop, and people from all over the country would come. And in 5 days, we would give them basically music school, or we did everything from, like, I had counselors come and do relationship team building and things like that because all of that's part of the process. And so now I have a whole generation of church leaders in Mexico and in a church
That's
in Ghana that
awesome.
are like all my trainees. So that's what I did.
Mhm.
And so that taught me a lot about administration and about organizing, and it also gave
Mhm.
me a lot more interesting stuff to write about. Because when I was writing, the biggest complaint I got is everything's kind of stereotypical. It's all kind of, you're not thinking outside the box enough. So, of course, going and studying all the history of Africa and Ghana in particular, and
Mhm.
traditional religions and all of these things, and seeing how people live and the cultures, going to those tribal villages and going out interacting with people and being literally the only white man in the room, which was a hugely, hugely great experience for me. Um, Getting comfortable with being the only white man in the room. It's funny, when I
Mhm.
did missionary work in Mexico, the best compliment I got was one of the missionaries' wives said, and they're Mexican too, actually, but she said, "What I love about you is you never look out of place when you're the only white man in the room. You just go and you just have fun with
Oh.
everybody because you're so comfortable." And I said, "Well, they're just people. I don't see, I don't worry
Mhm.
about the difference. I always start with the kids. If I don't speak the language, I start with the kids because I can always make the kids laugh. And once the kids like me, then the parents like me.
Exactly.
That's my trick." But anyway, long story short, I did that for a while, and I had a couple singles and different things on Christian radio, and I did a couple things, but nothing was really taken off. And I went back to school to get a master's degree, and after that, I started writing, and I started doing more writing stuff. First with nonfiction, and then I moved into fiction, which had always been my dream, and that actually started to work, and I started to sell, and I started to get stuff. So here I am.
Nice. That's a
Mhm.
great story.
Yeah, so that's my journey. I My whole life, I was raised by a doctor and a nurse, and of
Mhm.
course they're Christians,
Mhm.
and they taught me to serve other people was one of the greatest gifts and joys that you could have. So I'm kind of a person that likes to do things. So I've kind of approached my writing career that. That's why I wanted to do this show. I can help other people get the word out, and I get the word out about me at the same time, and
Mhm.
build relationships and network. And when I came into writing, I started two things. I started a chat on Twitter, which was one of the first
Mhm.
chats. This was like 10, 12 years ago, called Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Chat. And it literally grew to like 16,000 people every week were coming out for this live chat where we did basically what I'm doing with you as interviews. And all the major publishers would send me their books and offer me their authors. And it was a really cool thing. I did that for about 5 or 6 years until I got burned out. And then I stopped. But in the meantime, I started doing anthologies because
Mhm.
anthologies were a chance where I could bring together a lot of authors that were new or experienced, and let them, let people work with their heroes, let people build an audience and do all that. And I really enjoyed it. So I kind of became known as an anthologist, which is why I have 7 best-selling anthologies and 22 anthologies that I've edited over the years for different things. And
Nice.
then eventually I said, I really want to tell my own stories too. And I had written a couple romance novels early on, and then
Mhm.
didn't feel like they were good enough and switched to sci-fi, did a space opera trilogy, and then started to play around, but felt like my writing wasn't there. Eventually, I actually went and wrote a police procedural, and here I am, and now I'm writing thrillers. And then I went back and rewrote the book I'm going to send you. Is the first book I ever wrote. It's a romance book, and I thought this thing does not work. And when I got back to it, like 10 years later, I was like, there's
Mhm.
actually some really good prose in here. I didn't know the rules, and I was writing better than sometimes I do when I know the rules.
You know what?
I
That's kind
fixed
of
it.
cool
Yeah, I fixed it. I
because
made
I.
a lot of changes, but I pulled out my drawer novel and actually turned it into something really, I think, really special.
Mhm.
So anyway, it's called The
That's
Last
all.
Wish. So that
Mhm.
is something that is kind of part of my journey. I'm sure you have trunk
Mhm.
novels too, right?
Trunk novels?
Yeah. You have any novels you've shoved in a drawer and come back to later? Really? Oh, really?
No.
You're lucky. You're lucky. Okay,
No,
a lot of us have trunk novels, the novels that were our learning curve, but we didn't ever quite get them where that we wanted them to be to put them out in the world. That's the
no, I'm an overachiever, and so I will make it perfect if it takes me forever.
gotcha. Yeah, that I guess that staying up all night and working all the time kind of helps.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's your husband think about all this? You're married, right? You are married, right?
Yes, I am married.
Yeah.
He's he likes it. I get actually it's been a growth because at first like um I remember when I finished that first novel, I was like, look it's done. And his response was, that's great. When's dinner? You know?
Right. No, no, no. That's why I asked you because one of the struggles I had when I was I'm now with a new person, but I was married 12 years ago. She didn't understand the whole writing thing. She didn't really want to read my books. She didn't really get the whole thing,
Hmm.
and it was always like, you're sitting there staring at the screen. Take me to the grocery store. Let's go shopping. No, no, I'm working right now.
Hmm.
You're not doing anything. I'm doing it in here. It's all going on up here right
Hmm.
now. You know.
Hmm.
It's hard.
And
Plus all the hours that you're home, but you want to be alone, and all that.
but what happened is I went to a writing conference, the Smarter Artist. It was like the second year. And that's where I met a lot of the people I know now. And I was so shy that I hid in the room after all the sessions. So I would go to the session, go to the room, go to the session, go back to my room.
Right.
Um, and then, but I got courage like the third day, and I had lunch with like who is now, and back then these were just like, well, they still are normal folk, but like Tammy Labrecki, Shel Honaker, them. I went to lunch,
Yeah.
David Gaughran, and so I spent a lot of money to hide in the room for 3 days. And so the next conference, he came with me so I would stay down and be with other artists for the 3 days. And what I love about the author community is they treated him like he was just an author, and he's a musician. So he creates stories through his music.
Right, right.
And so I think the validation they gave him helped him understand that the world I was pulling him into was a good one for the both of us. And then
That's
he
great.
started hearing them talk about what they were making. And then he was like, oh.
Honey, honey, forget dinner. Go in there and write right now. No, I'm just kidding.
It is. And it's cute because, like, yesterday I was working and I'm tired. He made me, and this is my favorite food, chicken nuggets.
Awesome.
That's my love language is chicken nuggets.
That's support
So,
right there. That's support. Yeah, he's doing the cooking now. And
uh-huh.
does he read your books?
No. He does
No.
sometimes, um, but no. And then, um, you're probably like among the first to hear this, but I'm writing a cultivation fantasy, and
Very
he's
cool.
reading that. That he can relate to more.
Gotcha. Well, there's a lot of people that their spouses don't read their books. Like
Hmm.
my fiance May will read my romances, but she's not really interested in the thrillers yet, or the sci-fi stuff. That doesn't relate to her, but she loves the romances. Those she loves
Hmm.
to read. So I mean, and it's fine. I don't require people who love me to read my books necessarily, but I like when they at least make the effort. My parents read everything, so it's good. Although it is a
Oh.
little awkward when I write a sex scene. What's really funny, I'll tell you this, and my dad would kill me if he knew, but it's very funny. I wrote a sex scene in which the daughter walks in on the parent having sex in one of my thrillers. It was right at the end, and it was
Uh-huh.
written for comedy, right? And
Hmm.
uh, and my dad's like, "Well, that was really awkward. Why did you write that in there?" I'm like, "Because I did that when I was 18 and walked in on you and mom." And I was like, "I'm still working out some therapy, Dad. I had to write that." And he was like, "Great. I'm really glad you put that on paper."
You know what I did? So the author rave. This is, I think, the fourth one. And at the first one, there was a romance author, a male romance author, and he had two books, and he had one. where it was for the regular reader, and he had one for his mother, and all the bad words and all the sex scenes were blacked out. It was the worst.
That's hilarious. So I get that. I get that. It's funny that when we go and we hang out with authors, one of the things I noticed, there aren't as many men who write romance as there are
Hmm.
women. And that's because the reader base is largely female for romance. Although I love reading romance, but
Hmm.
the thing about it, when I went to rave, it was last year was my first time. I went to the romance meetup, but I was really nervous because I was like, how do I talk craft with these women? Because if we talk about something like sex or whatever, I feel like they're going to think I'm some creeper. It's weird for me. So I was always like letting them take the lead on the conversation and say, okay, now don't take this the wrong way, but I want to ask a question about that. I guess,
Hmm.
you
No,
know,
it is, and because like when I every time I go to dip my toe in steamy, I'm like and I giggle like a 13-year-old. I'm like, and so they were, and obviously it's gonna come across like that if I'm giggling. And so they gave me books to show me how. So like I
yeah,
gave you My Body by Diana Gabaldon. Great book. Once I read that book, I was like, I'm about the steamy life. Um,
yeah. Well, that would be funny to if your husband ever happened to read some of that. I bet you he'd be like, "Whoa, where did that come from? Who are you?" it's like it's
so
like when my
yeah.
when my mother and my dad tell me to read stuff, and I'm like, okay, don't ask any questions, please. The sweet little missionary woman. I mean, it is what it is. But
Mhm,
that's the funny thing about being a writer. You come up, you write. Even the thrillers. I'm writing murders and different things, and you're writing stuff, and it's like, where did that come from? And
mhm,
it comes from years of experience in life, but it also comes from research and various things, and
mhm,
reading about tragedies that happen, and writing along with the police. I did a lot of that and saw actual crimes. But I also tell my dad, a lot of it. What informed me is my dad trained paramedics. He's a physician. He's a doctor,
mhm,
and my dad set up paramedic programs in several rural towns in Kansas. And so when I was growing up, we would get called to the scene all the time. So I would see horrible things, decapitation. The first naked woman I ever saw was somebody who was dead in an accident lying in a ditch, and different things like that. And I'm like, those things stick with you, Dad. I mean, I
mhm,
vividly remember those pictures, and I remember learning how fragile life is, even to the point where occasionally I dabble in horror, and my friends are always like, this movie is so scary, and I'll watch it, I'll laugh my butt off, and I'll be like, that is so cheesy. It would never look like that. It wouldn't bleed like that. My friends go, you ruin horror. What's up with that? I'm like, because you haven't seen real horror, dude. You don't know.
so that's and so I'm reading The Crystal Shard by R.A. Salvatore,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and okay, and so I had to stop because I was afraid because I forgot his name already. Oh my gosh. It's the Viking, the barbarian. He's going back
Mhm.
to his tribe to try to convince them that they don't want to fight with the dwarves. And I had to stop because I was afraid. I'm like, these people are not going to receive him well. So I'll
Yeah,
pick it back up. But so no, I cannot do horror for that reason. I'm like, it's this like the blood and the guts. Yeah, I
yeah.
can do that. But it's the
Well,
suspense, the not knowing.
the May. That's what's funny about May. May's the screamer. She's the classic
Hmm.
horror screamer. Like something will happen, and she's like, "Ah, oh my god!" She's got that reaction. So I like watching horror films with her because she'll snuggle up to me and cuddle my arm while I'm sitting there trying not to laugh. It's not funny. That's scary. Anyway, you know what? We're almost out of time. But before we go, I
Oh,
wanted to ask you, and we didn't quite get there. You mentioned reading R.A. Salvatore. Who are some of your favorite authors that you read?
um, for clean romance, it's Rayanne Thane. Oh Um, she's the one that proved you could write clean without the sex scenes and like um have like that heavy emotion because steamy
Yeah.
tends to why I like steamy is because they pull that emotion in, and so Rayanne can do that. Um, right now I am on a Honey Phillips kick. She wrote a Seven Brides for Seven Brothers with aliens, so she's doing sci-fi romance. And
Interesting.
then Otto Schaefer. Oh my gosh, have you read Otto Schaefer?
No, I haven't. I've heard the name
Oh,
though. I have heard the name.
he is phenomenal.
Really? Okay.
Um, he's I found him on TikTok, and but he's writing horror, so I'm afraid to. He just released a horror, and I'm afraid to read it, but I'll probably
I
read it.
think I've seen him on TikTok actually. That's probably where I've heard of him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I'll check
So
him
no,
out for
he's
sure.
good. He is
So
like
guys,
really, really, really good.
go out and find these
Yeah.
authors. Please don't forget to follow Merri, our lovely guest, for being here. And don't forget to like this chat and come back, and we'll have a new guest every night of the week. And of course, check out Merri's feed and what she's got going on. And do us a favor, if you like the books and you read the books, please review. Reviews are so important to us as part of our lifeline to get the word out. But also more than that, if you have a chance to repost some of our information about books you like, or even do TikTok reviews, that would be really great. I want to thank Merri for taking an hour out of her life to hang out with me. It was really fun. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and
Thank you. I had fun with you.
I look forward to meeting you in person in a couple of weeks. I think it is. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll
Three
be fun.
weeks.
Everybody, this is Rave. It is the gathering we're talking about is in Vegas on November 10th, at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Horseshoe Casino till 4 o'clock. There'll be 300 authors, including Merri and myself. We'll all be signing our books. There'll be readings going on. There are giveaways. Amazon's there giving away Kindles and stuff. They give away real Kindles, folks. You're going
Hmm.
to get lots of free books that'll be given away. You'll get all kinds of stuff is given away. Blackstone's there. They give away audiobooks. Sometimes there's all this stuff going on. So come check it out. It's free to the public. It doesn't cost you
Hmm.
anything unless you want to buy books. So you just come and look. You can bring your previously purchased books and get them signed too. Nobody has a problem with that. So check
Hmm.
out Rave. That is November 10th in Vegas. And again, Merri, thanks for being with me. Thank you for joining us tonight on
Thank you.
Creator Talk Live. And we wish you all happy reading and a blessed day.
And hearts for all of you.
Hearts for all of you. All right. Well, thank you,
All
Merri.
right.
I will talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. All
I
right,
don't know how to get
folks.
out of this.
Oh, I'll shut it down. Folks, I'm going to shut down. I'll be back a little later to just hang out. Have a good night. Thank you for all your gifts and support.